Welcome back to the Deep Dive, where we take your pile of source material, the research, the case studies, and give you the distilled insight you need.
And today we are tackling a really fundamental shift that's happening right now in industrial manufacturing.
We're talking about moving from selling, steel and engines to selling intelligence and ultimately outcomes.
It's this journey of servitization. So moving from selling a product, like a huge piece of construction equipment, to selling the guaranteed result of using that machine.
And the specific focus for us today is digital servitization.
Right. That's the key. It's where that outcome-based focus converges with all these advanced digital technologies.
So we're talking IoT sensors, we're talking big data analytics, cloud computing, all of it. The manufacturer's new mission is basically to collect real-time data from their equipment out in the field.
Exactly. And then use that data to deliver these high-value digital services, things like remote monitoring, predictive maintenance, or even managing a customer's entire operation.
And our sources all seem to point to one critical component that makes this whole transformation possible.
One single architectural component, the B2B platform.
And that's our mission for this deep dive, to explore the absolutely fundamental role of these business-to-business platforms. Our sources are all grounded in B2B case studies, real-world examples from major heavy equipment manufacturers.
So the big picture here, you have to think of these platforms as modular technological architecture.
Okay, modular.
Yeah. They connect the smart products. They centralize all these, incredibly diverse data streams. And this is the crucial part. They allow the manufacturer and external partners,
These complementers you
the
mentioned?
complementers, exactly, to co-create value together through new services. Think of a specialized drone mapping service or a weather data provider, all plugging into the main platform.
So platforms are the bridge to this new world. But, and this is a big but, adopting them is incredibly difficult. Let's set the stakes here, because we have seen some major failures.
Oh, absolutely. This is not just a theoretical risk.
Sure.
Our sources point to some really instructive examples. You have
Right.
IBM and Maersk's Tradelands.
Right, the big blockchain platform for logistics.
Huge. And it was shut down. Why? Because the industry players, they just refused to fully participate. They were worried about data sharing, about who held the power. The trust wasn't there.
Or what about GE's Predix? That was another massive investment.
And it struggled. It struggled to get traction because of issues around data and software control. Third-party partners just felt like it was a closed environment where GE always had the upper hand. They were reluctant to fully commit.
So these failures really prove that this isn't just a technical upgrade.
No, it's a strategic, organizational, and frankly, a political overhaul. And we're going to get into why it's so difficult by looking at these inherent contradictions that managers have to deal with, what the research calls paradoxical tensions.
Okay, so before we get to those tensions, let's unpack the foundational problem that makes platforms so necessary in the first place. This idea of the service paradox.
Yes. This paradox is, it's the short-term financial hurdle that these platforms are designed to overcome. It's a simple observation, really. When a traditional manufacturer starts increasing its service revenue,
As profits go down.
paradoxically, yes, it often leads to a decline in short-term financial performance.
And why is that? It seems counterintuitive.
Well, think about it. Traditionally, delivering a custom service means a massive investment. You need new training, new software, bespoke diagnostic tools, high-touch support. You're building a custom solution every single time.
And all those initial costs just eat into the profit margins of that new service line.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
You're moving from the high-margin, low-complexity job of just, stamping out uniform products to the low-margin, high-complexity job of delivering customized outcomes. The organization just isn't built for that kind of complexity.
So if that complexity is what kills the margin, how does adopting a modular B2B platform solve this puzzle?
The solution is all about achieving efficiency and customization simultaneously. The platform's modular architecture lets the manufacturer and his partners combine different standardized digital service modules.
Like virtual Lego bricks.
Precisely. You snap them together into an integrated, customized solution for a specific customer. You're not building a whole new system from scratch every time.
And that modularity keeps the operational costs down while still letting you deliver these really tailored services.
And that's the only way manufacturers get through that initial financial dip and start seeing the real long-term payoff from servization.
That makes sense financially, but it points to a much bigger mental shift, doesn't it, about what the actual center of the business is?
It really does. Our sources show that in successful digital servitization, the core of the platform architecture, fundamentally shifts. It used to be the physical product, the engine, the machine itself.
But with B2B platforms, it's the information modules that become the central core.
Yes, the knowledge and the data flowing from the machine is now more central than the machine itself.
We're talking about the telematics, the sensors, the data collection, the analysis.
That's the new core. This information core is the foundation that allows for that crucial balancing act of operational efficiency and deep customer customization.
Yeah.
The product is just the vessel, but the value is in the intelligence it generates.
So to really understand how a company builds this kind of ecosystem, our sources lay out a kind of evolutionary roadmap. They talk about 3 distinct archetypes.
Yeah, a journey of increasing sophistication.
Yeah.
And it's characterized by the co-evolution of 3 key things: platform architecture, platform services, and platform governance.
Okay, let's walk through them. Let's start at the beginning, the product platform. What does that initial phase look like?
So the architecture here is focused pretty much entirely on product data collection. This is step 1. You're installing basic sensors, connecting your products to the network, and maybe setting up some basic data dashboards for your customers.
Very machine-centric.
Completely.
Yeah.
The initial investments are all about getting common telematics systems deployed across the fleet of machines.
And I imagine the services are pretty simple at this stage, too.
They're reactive or, basic proactive services. This is what we call monitoring service development. Things like automated reports, early warnings if a reading goes out of spec, basic diagnostics on fuel use or uptime.
So how is innovation driven here?
The mechanism is what the research calls search depth.
Search depth. What does that mean?
Think of it as going very deep on a limited set of data. You're generating value by detecting simple errors within one specific data source. You're increasing the volume of data, but not really the variety.
Okay, so search depth is like checking one specific gauge, say, oil temperature, over and over and over again. You get really good at monitoring that one thing.
That's a perfect analogy. And the governance at this stage is all about value chain expansion. So getting your traditional partners like dealers onto the new platform.
Right, and that brings us to the second archetype, the supply chain platform. Now we're moving beyond just the machine, right?
Correct. The strategic jump is from the machine talking to the entire site, or the supply chain talking. So the architecture has to shift to analytics utilization.
Which means more advanced sensors, I'm guessing.
It means more advanced sensors, aggregating data from multiple products, correlating different data sets, and using scalable cloud servers to do some serious number crunching.
And now the services can become much more valuable.
Oh, absolutely. We shift to optimization and service development. This is where you get complex solutions like fleet management, site management, and crucially, those true outcome-based services where the manufacturer can actually guarantee a certain performance level.
Because they have so much more data to work with? And what about the innovation mechanism? If the first stage was search depth, what's next?
The next is search breadth. This is about identifying patterns by correlating increased data volume with increased data variety.
So not just looking at the oil temperature, but looking at the oil temperature, the operator's shift schedule, the local weather, and the type of soil they're digging in all at once.
Exactly. You're making connections you could never make with simple monitoring. And governance also expands to value system expansion, which means helping customers adopt the platform and bringing in tech partners to help you build out APIs faster.
Okay, which brings us to the final, most advanced phase, the platform ecosystem.
Right. This is the really sophisticated open stage. The architecture now centers on artificial intelligence enablement.
So designing AI algorithms, ensuring open APIs are the default.
And building self-reinforcing or even simulating abilities into the platform.
And the services here must be pretty futuristic.
Well, the goal is autonomous service development. We're talking about autonomous transportation solutions or advisory services that run complex operations on behalf of the customer, a system that can self-diagnose and order its own replacement parts.
And the governance must be radically different here.
Completely. It moves to ecosystem expansion. The manufacturer has to actively open its interfaces not just to partners, but even to competitors' products.
Wait, to competitors? Why would they do that?
Because customers operate mixed fleets. They have your equipment and they have your competitors' equipment. If your platform can't manage their entire operation, you can't deliver an optimized outcome.
That's a huge strategic shift. So what does innovation look like at this final stage?
The mechanism is recombination. You're using all those microservices and open APIs to rapidly configure brand new complex solutions by snapping together existing capabilities from everyone in the ecosystem.
That journey makes the path clear. But you said earlier that so many platforms fail because of these internal contradictions. So if platforms solve the service paradox, then managing these tensions is what solves platform failure.
Exactly. And the key thing to understand is that you don't solve these tensions. You don't pick one side over the other. You have to maintain them in a constant dynamic equilibrium.
If you focus too much on one side, like GE did with control,
The whole ecosystem just collapses. So let's look at the first set, the platform design tensions. What's the first one?
the platform orientation paradox.
Right. So this is the tension between a restrictive, product-oriented focus,
Yeah.
just supporting your own legacy product sales, versus a broad, customer-oriented focus.
Meaning you add services that address the customer's entire business process, not just your machine's health.
Exactly. The coping strategy here is flexible architecture. You start product-oriented, because that's what you know, but you design the architecture to be open from day one so you can integrate those customer-focused modules later on.
Okay, that makes sense. What's the second design tension? The affiliation paradox. This sounds like it's about managing your partners.
It is. It pits the manufacturer's need for diversity and redundancy, having multiple partners offering similar services to keep the ecosystem stable against the partner's desire for exclusivity.
Because the best partners want to know they have a protected market position.
Of course they do. If you let everyone in, your best partners might walk away. But if you're too exclusive, you lose that stability and redundancy.
It's a real tightrope walk.
It is. And the coping strategy is what's called selective exclusivity. You allow multiple partners to join, but you grant the most qualified ones greater visibility or maybe prioritize access to customers. You give them an incentive without completely closing the system.
Okay, so those are the design tensions. Now let's talk about governance managing the people and the policies. The first one here is the innovation paradox.
This one is critical. It's the balance between the manufacturer's need for control to ensure quality, reliability, brand compliance, and the partner's need for autonomy to innovate quickly.
If you have too much bureaucratic control, you just slow everything down and the platform becomes irrelevant.
And you kill innovation. The solution is modular governance. The manufacturer keeps tight, centralized control over the core service modules, the things that directly touch the machine's operation.
But for everything else,
For the peripheral services, like a third-party scheduling app, you grant those partners maximum autonomy. You control the foundation, but you empower innovation on the surface.
which leaves the final and maybe most sensitive tension, the one that touches on why TradeLens struggled, data, the transparency paradox.
This is a big one. It's the tension between the manufacturer's need for access to customer data, which you need for optimization services, and the customer's need to shield that same information for competitive reasons.
If the service relies on data the customer won't share, you're just dead in the water. How do you possibly bridge that gap?
The coping strategy is customer empowerment. And this is a sales and trust challenge, not a technical one. Your sales team has to stop talking about technical features and start highlighting the tangible business benefits the customer will get from sharing their data,
The productivity gains.
the guaranteed outcomes. And crucially, you have to give customers explicit, granular control over their own data. When they feel empowered and see the guaranteed return, their willingness to share goes up dramatically.
This has been a deep dive that really rethinks what manufacturing even is. Digital servitization demands platforms, but to make platforms work, you have to manage this coevolution of architecture, services, and governance by addressing these four paradoxes.
And it changes everyone's job. The back-end R&D unit becomes the platform orchestrator, designing the core modules and setting the rules.
While the front-end sales and support teams become the offering builder, they're the ones using those modules to craft custom solutions for customers. The whole company starts revolving around that central intelligence core.
Which brings us back to that highest level of maturity, the ecosystem. We said the most advanced companies have to embrace open interfaces, even collaborating with competitors because of those mixed fleets.
Right. You can't guarantee an outcome for a customer if you can only see half of their equipment. And that requirement that you have to work with your competitor to truly serve your customer, it raises a massive question about identity. If a manufacturer's success now depends on letting go of market dominance and instead expanding collaborative value creation, does that manufacturer's identity fundamentally shift? Do you go from being a competitive product supplier to a collaborative infrastructure provider? And what does that mean for your entire long-term strategy? That's something for you to mull over as these platforms continue to reshape our industrial world.
Thank you for listening to today's episode of our Digital Servitization Exchange podcast. We hope the insights sparked new ideas, challenged assumptions, and brought clarity to the evolving world of service and digital-driven business models. This podcast is grounded in extensive research across various fields, drawing on years of academic work, case studies, and cutting-edge publications. It also shaped by hands-on experience of our collaboration partners, whose real-world challenges and successes help us to translate theory into practice. If you enjoyed the episode, consider following the podcast and sharing it with colleagues who are navigating the civilization journey. Your support helps us continuing bridging high-quality research-based and practice-proven perspectives straight to your ears. Thank you for tuning in and see you in the next episode.